Hey, what up, everyone? It's Walter from the Enemy Base. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. A couple things I just want to say before the video gets started. Thank you, everyone, for the support you guys have been showing me over the last few months, even though my streams have been sporadic at best. Just so everybody knows, we're going to be getting back on a more constant schedule now. There is going to be less gaming, more podcasts. Still going to be some gaming, but let's be honest, it's not going to be a whole lot. It's not going to be as much. It's going to be like chill gaming, like Magic. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of like Tarkov, Warzone, stuff like that on stream. Um, but again, thank you very much for checking this out. If you like the new podcast, which by the way, I'm calling it The List. This is episode 1. We are talking all about Marvel stuff. If you like it, please drop a follow, drop a thumbs up. Let me know how you guys are liking it, only because this is what drives the YouTube algorithms. I hate the stereotypical, well, only 3% of the blah, blah, blah. Like, whenever something like that pops off, I'm not gonna, I'd never watch it, so I'm never gonna drop that on you guys. All I'm asking is for a like and a follow, and we'll be set. You can also check out the audio version of the podcast. Uh, Pretty much just go to theenemybase.com. Every link that you could use for the podcast is there. Your Twitch link is there. YouTube. Well, you know the YouTube if you're clicking the video. So anyway, so without further ado, let's get the show rolling. Hope you all have a great one. Thank you very much, guys.
Welcome to the Base News Network.
Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. Yo, what up, everyone? Walter from the Enemy Base, and we are live on Twitch right now. And we are going to be doing a new podcast, and I don't exactly know what I have a new podcast, Charlie. So what we got going on tonight is a new podcast going on about, I'm going to be ranking things. So I have no idea what I'm going to name this podcast yet. I might leave it up to general consensus. I might do a poll. I don't know. But what we're going to do is it's going to be a podcast tonight, and the next few episodes are going to be devoted to the MCU. So what I'm going to be doing tonight, I'm going to start off. First episode is going to be the tier list. So I'm going to have the tier list done tonight, and I'm going to do a brief synopsis as to why this movie or TV show is where it is. This is going to be just the MCU. I'm not going to be talking about anything from the X-Men, the Netflix shows, whatever. It is just straight MCU, Disney properties as of now. So, real quick, before we do continue with the podcast, everybody who's live, you can search us up on Spotify. We're up on YouTube. Best way to do it right now is just search up the Enemy Base. We have a bunch of podcasts up and streams from the multi-stream going up. I'm also up on Patreon. I'm literally just going over what's on the screen right now. And I'm up on TikTok. So tiktok.com/@theenemybase. And I'm right there. SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/theenemybase. And so, yeah, let's get started, shall we? So here we go. Here is the tier list that we're going to be working with. So before we started, I have everything on the bottom. Let's move this up just a little bit so everyone can see what's going on. So here's what we got. Everything that is canonical to the MCU is right here on the screen. All right, so here's the deal. Some of these, let's put that right there. Some of these things are going to be a little controversial. Some of them not so much, and let's just roll with it and see where we go. So since there's 23, 24, I'm going to be doing some of these rapid fire. Let's see. Iron Man. Iron Man was the start of the MCU, and it did a lot right. There are some things that were wrong. I think the biggest thing that kind of killed it for me was the establishment of the Mandarin and the lore of the Mandarin but then it kind of fizzled out. And we're going to get back to why in a second, but it kind of fizzled out. Let's see. Next up is The Incredible Hulk. It was good. It was definitely better than the 03 Banner Hulk movie. Could it have been better? Yes. Could it have been a lot better? Yes. But it was a good movie. It was a good, enjoyable movie. These two right here, if Iron Man and Hulk weren't made the way that they were and how they were made, I can guarantee you we would not be talking about Black Widow today. Period. They took it very safe, and I'm very okay with it. They could have done a lot more. They could have done a lot less, and it could have been a lot better. But I don't. Early on, I'm just looking for a faithful representation of the Hulk in a movie, and the final battle with the Hulk and Abomination, that hit hard, and it was really good. If they toned that back and didn't give us what we wanted, that probably would have been meh to garbage. Speaking of, fuck Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2, unless they do some fucked up shit. Hold on, I need to fix this. Much better. Iron Man 2 is quite easily the worst movie in the MCU. I am willing to listen to people's arguments on this, and I will argue forever and a day that this clusterfuck, if it was any worse, probably would have tanked the entirety of what Marvel was building. Because you have to remember, this was before Iron Man 2 and Thor. Actually, everything up to the Avengers was before Disney bought out Marvel. So while Iron Man rode the popularity of, or Iron Man 2 rode the popularity of the first Iron Man and the Hulk, if, for the sake of argument, if they put Iron Man 2 first, done. I think that the way that they did they adapted Demon in a Bottle and Mickey, and how I'm going to call it as it is, how they misused Mickey Rourke was just balls. It was just bad. But next week we're going to, like, everything up to the Avengers, we're going to be going over again in more detail. Mainly because a lot of these movies I haven't seen in a long time. Like, when I say a long time, I mean like a year and change. But Iron Man 2 is quite easily the worst MCU movie, period. Next up is Thor. A lot of people do not like Thor. But for what it was, I thought Thor was fun. We got Tom Hiddleston as Loki, and let's be honest, outside of Robert Downey Jr., I think Tom Hiddleston as Loki is probably the best casting choice that they could have made. But then again, anything that the MCU puts out seems to be close to, if not the perfect casting choice, save for Mickey Rourke. I think, again, establishing Asgard early, establishing Thor as this, I want to say a god, but he's not a god. It's the way that the MCU situated Thor as a god, but not, makes it weird to me. Like, you have the entirety of the Norse mythology where gods are gods. Hey, I don't want to be that guy, but gods are gods. And you have the MCU going, well, they're gods, but not. So yeah, that happened. Let's take all that off. Much better. So Thor Thor did enough to bring in outside um the outside influences on the MCU. When I mean outside influences, I mean off Earth. So you get the more cosmic beings. Like that's your gateway to the cosmic beings. I liked it. I liked Thor. It's not it wasn't an amazing movie, but it was very fun for me. And again, fun meaning like it played with the comics. It didn't really go according to any comic as far as I remember. Yeah, you have the destroyer armor, you have Thor, Loki, Odin, the whole thing, but it was fun and that's all that matters. This might be the first controversial thing that I'm going to put on here, and I'm going to take it with I'm going to take it in stride. I think Captain America, the first Avenger, was the best phase one movie that Marvel put out. It showed that Marvel was willing to go back and tell the origin stories that were meant to be done. They didn't chump out and do 3 minutes of Captain America fighting the Red Skull and then bring it to modern day and Captain America's fighting Red Skull again. No, this entire movie was set in the 1940s and we got a period piece and it was amazing. I thought that like I had so much hope going into Captain America the First Avenger and coming out of Captain America the First Avenger that I felt that the Avengers was going to be a letdown. That's how much fun I thought the first Avenger was. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Raph. Thor could have referenced the bigger gods, but I honestly think that if they kept it centralized to the Asgard pantheon, and I'm okay with that because you don't want to literally just start throwing things at the audience, and it's kind of like um over informed. The audience would get too much information, and then they would just go, "There's entirely way too much going on here." Now, there were flaws in the first Avenger. Uh, the the I liked while I liked the Red Skull, I did not like the fact that at the beginning of the movie, up until the big reveal, he was a human, and then he just ripped the mask off, and boom, he's the Red Skull. CG on um was it Viggo Mortensen was good. I just think that it would have been a bigger impact if they just made like Red Skull from the onset. Like if in the beginning of the movie when the Red Skull is assaulting that um the church or the sanctuary, wrong name but whatever, when he's attacking where the Tesseract was at the time, I think it would have made a much bigger impact if he just came in, tanks rolling through, him as the Red Skull, kicking down a door and just taking the Tesseract and having that blue glow on the red face would have had more impact than just human face. So, I mean, let's be honest. The next movie, where did it go wrong? I have tried now for over 10 years to figure out where the first Avengers movie had anything wrong with it. There isn't. Loki got his big his admittance to the big boys club in the Avengers. Tom Hiddleston proved that he can hang with Robert Downey Jr. He can hang with Mark Ruffalo, Chris Evans, a lot of these established stars. Because for me, I never knew who Tom Hiddleston was until Thor came out. And he knocked it out of the park, and he was just great. He was the perfect antithesis to what the Avengers were. He had the ability to go through and just weed out any and all problems that all of the Avengers had while the Avengers were coming out. Like while they were doing their thing, he made them look like fools for the first hour and 40 minutes until the battle for New York. There's not enough good I can say about the first Avengers movie that it could not they could not have done it any better. Yeah. Like if you think about it, Tom Hiddleston, right? Because of the MCU, he was able to get roles. Like he had a show with Hugh Laurie, fucking House. He had a show with House on Hulu, Amazon, I forget, but he had a show with Hugh Laurie, and it was pretty damn good. Might have been Amazon now that I think about it. It showed that he's able to do the acting that not many people would have guessed just from if they knew him only from Loki or being Loki or the comic relief of sorts in the Thor series, they wouldn't. No. Loki is amazing. Like Tom Hiddleston did such a great job, and I will talk him up all day long. So next up we got this could have been so goddamn good. I'm not saying this is garbage because for the first half of the movie, I was sold. We got the Mandarin. We got the 10 rings. We thought that, after Iron Man 2, after the Avengers, Iron Man 3 was going to come back on track. We were going to go balls deep and have Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin. Nope. We got the worst fake out I have ever experienced in cinema. Sorry, not sorry. Once that fake out happened, and was it Shane Black was the? I don't even know his name. Oh, Guy Pearce. Sorry, Shane Black was the director. Aldrich Killian had a great story, right? Like if they made him like the head of AIM or give him something better to work with, I think it would have been a lot better instead of saying I am the Mandarin and then getting fucking turned to ash by Pepper Potts. By the way, speaking of, did she get like her powers taken away from her at some point? I don't remember. Like, did she get some form of like power be gone at the end of Iron Man 3? The only thing that was of interest in Iron Man 3 was the armor assault at the end where you have 9 million different armors coming out. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't losing my shit. So she had the powers, she could have done stuff. She could have actually been an asset during Age of Ultron or Civil War or Infinity War or Endgame, but nothing. Okay, cool. Moving on. Thor: The Dark World was a Thor: The Dark World could have been so good. There could have been a lot going on. I think the ether would have been really cool to play with, and I think having I think if the ether taking over Natalie Portman's character, Jane Foster, if it took over Jane Foster and killed her because she did not want it, like this movie was, you could tell that Natalie Portman showed up on set every day going, that Disney money, I want that Disney money again. Man, I remember how much money I got as Amidala during the first 3 Star Wars movies. I want that again. And you can tell, like, it was such a mailed in performance from Natalie Portman that, like, she was emotionally void. And if they took the ether and corrupted Jane Foster to the point of no return, where she became she was like the sub boss to the Dark Elves. If they did that and add some emotional weight to Thor for the end fight, instead of again Loki faking his own death, there would have been a lot more to like out of it. But I don't know. That's the better thing. I don't know at this point. I'm just theory crafting, and yeah. I was not a huge fan of Thor: The Dark World. Like with most movies, when it first came out, I was hyped because why not? It's hype. That should be over here. Anyway, I couldn't do it. With Thor: The Dark World, I walked out and I'm just like the way that I felt having Iron Man 3 and Thor back to back made me feel like this movie. Can I? No? Okay, we'll just do that then. Captain America: The Winter Soldier, I thought was going to be another letdown because Iron Man 3 and Thor were just straight disappointments. And let me tell you, I was so beyond happy that I was so wrong. Because when I say that Captain America: The Winter Soldier proved that the MCU could do other movies besides big superhero bangers, like your typical quote unquote popcorn movie, have depth, have nuance, have the ability to do other genres besides big explosive fireworks that have really only been seen before. There was a lot of subtlety going on. The action was dialed back. Yes, there were action scenes. There were a lot of them, but you're not seeing a whole lot of buildings falling until the Triskelion at the end of the movie. I'm sorry, but I honestly think that Captain America: The Winter Soldier is the best movie in the MCU. You can tell me I'm wrong, and I will just nod my head and go, sure. But I'm going to tell you you're wrong. There was so much going on. Chris Evans proved that he can actually do more than be the sarcastic, smarmy prick that he's played in a lot of other movies with this. Yes, Captain America in the Avengers didn't really do a whole lot character-wise. Captain America: The First Avenger, he's still that young, scrawny guy trapped in a big boy's body. Captain America: The Winter Soldier brought him up, elevated him. Sebastian Stan, elevated. Anthony Mackie, elevated. Everyone that was in that movie was elevated to some point. And the repercussions, and I mean, granted, there are other things that were involved in that as well, because at that time, was we were going through season 1 of Agents of Shield, and was it season? Yeah, it was season 1, and the way that they interwove the second half of that season into the Winter Soldier was great. Like the entire first half of Agents of Shield was ass. It was terrible. But once Captain America came around and you're starting to see the effects that were coming through from Captain America into Agents of Shield, you knew that shit was going to get serious, and it was some of the best television at the time. Like I'm sorry, but like I welcome people to tell me what they thought of what they thought of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and does it deserve to be the number one? Because I'm sorry, to me, it's the number one. And what's next? Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, I had a hot second. Guardians of the Galaxy rides the line between amazing and god tier. And what's going to push me over the top is the soundtrack. There was a lot that I saw in Guardians of the Galaxy that I liked, but the one thing that I really wanted to see that I didn't and still have not seen in the MCU is the Nova Corps. I want Nova in the MCU. We have the Guardians of the Galaxy going all over space. Why do we not have Nova yet? You have like the Nova HQ, which I would like to think is still alive. Maybe not. I don't know. But you have it, and it's really you have something there that could be really good, especially now that Thanos is no more, and you need something to you need a another protagonist in space, and you could have Nova just tell story, like have Nova tell stories of the bigger, lesser beings, like the not Thanoses of the world. Like, give us the Kree, give us the Kree, give us the Skrulls. Like, can we please? That's all I want. On the whole, though, there was a lot of really good stuff coming out. I think the CG for Rocket was really good. Groot, they nailed. Chris Pratt as Star-Lord was awesome. Gamora was great. And fucking Dave Bautista. I cannot say enough good about Dave Bautista in Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, if you want to talk about dude getting elevated, like, his acting was next level. And it was like I had so much fun watching Guardians of the Galaxy, and most of it was Drax. Like, straight up, it was Drax. That's all we need going forward. Is just more Drax. And it's sad because I think at the end of I don't. According to rumor, we're not going to be having Drax after Guardians 3. So get it while you can, boys. What can be said? Avengers Age of Ultron. Let's start out with so what exactly is the tragedy here? Yes, Drax did have a daughter in the comics. Yeah, it's a rumor, but let's be honest. One, it's well known that Dave Bautista has a lot of fun as Drax. It's well known that Disney makes a lot of money with the Guardians movies. So I'm pretty sure Disney is going to be more than happy to give out some of that Disney money throw in a couple of vacations to the Disney resorts around the world. He'll be back. I hope. But where do we start with Age of Ultron? Now, where Age of Ultron sits in this line is not indicative of my feelings about Age of Ultron. Yeah. The CG was really good. But good CG does not cover terrible writing. CG does not cover having to skirt around Wanda and Pietro being wonders instead of what they're called. They are mutants. And the fact that they had to skirt around it and call them wonders instead of mutants, say that they have abilities instead of mutant powers, is a travesty and a kick in the face to everything that they have done in the comics. Sorry, but not sorry. No, I completely understand that they did not have the rights to the term mutant, which is all the more reason why they should not have used those characters. There are plenty of characters that have gone back and forth from Hydra, or the remnants of Hydra at the time, that they could have used, even as throwaway characters that they die at the end of the movie, like Pietro, and they could have done anything. Yeah, introduce Bob. There's so much that they could have done, but we get a cop out. Like, Disney has been rumored to be getting the rights to the X-Men back for years, and the entirety of the Marvel rights that were at 20th Century Fox, and there is a lot wrong with Age of Ultron. There were some good. As much as I hated the writing in the movie, the action scenes were top notch. I can't sit here and lie about it. The action was fantastic. But you go back to the writing, and here's another thing. Where the fuck was Hank Pym during this movie? Hank Pym is the person who created Ultron. It was not putting It was not putting Jarvis inside a android. You have Hank Pym in the literal next movie. Well, if we want to go deep, we could have gone Wonder Man. Let's see, woman. Maybe Janet Van Dyne. Maybe. Other than real quick for the audio version, other than Scarlet for the team, who would have I picked to replace the twins? It's a tough question. I'll be honest. There's a lot that they could have used, but at the time, I don't know what. I don't remember who had what rights in 2014, 2015 for that answer. I'm sure if you asked 2015 me would have had great answers. But 2021 me and my old ass brain, I can't remember. For Scarlet Witch, I don't really, unfortunately, I don't think you could have. Only because she's a linchpin later on. So it's, who do we pick to replace Pietro? And I don't think you can. Like I think we could have thrown an Easter egg in Endgame or Infinity War to show that, you know, the former 20th Century Fox properties were coming, and then we could have gotten WandaVision, but we don't know. And that's part of the problem of introducing Vision in Age of Ultron. And on top of that, using the phrase Age of Ultron when only because the comic books the comic book mega series was coming out at that time as well is terrible, because a lot of people were thinking that we were going to get an adaptation of Age of Ultron the comic, which couldn't have been farther from the truth. Which, by the way, if you have not read Age of Ultron, you should, because a lot of cool shit. Wolverine goes ham. I enjoyed it. All right, so as for the next movie, and like I said, I'm going to be going over these more in detail over the coming weeks. So I'm going up to the Avengers next episode and going into more detail about it. Then I'm not sure how I'm going to handle afterwards, because phase 2 gets longer, phase 3 gets really long, and I might cover phase 4 and the TV shows in its own thing. So, just so you guys know. So, the official end to phase 2 would be Ant-Man. It was good. Just good. Yeah, 100%. In chat, my paper chat goes, yes, Age of Ultron would have been great robot sci-fi if they didn't attach themselves to Marvel Comics. Fact. It's just random, rich, smart guy fucking up his AI. 100%. 100%. I think if they did it right and they introduced, even I would have been more receptive of Age of Ultron if it wasn't Tony Stark and Banner making Ultron, and with some bullshit armors around the world bullshit. That doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. I'm not even gonna try and justify it. The way they did it did not work. Because now you have one of Pym's greatest stories and greatest failures gone. And now he's just some random old white man helping out Scott Lang in the Ant-Man movies. That's a huge, huge disservice to Hank Pym. And I hope that certain events later on fix this problem. Probably not, but whatever. Anyway, so next up is Ant-Man. Like I said, it was a fun watch. I think that Paul Rudd as Scott Lang was fun. He was enjoyable. It was the first movie that Paul Rudd was in that I was not instantly racing to turn off. It proved that he can do things away from Judd Apatow, away from Seth Rogen, away from John Franco? No. James Franco. That guy. It showed that he had the ability to do big boy things as opposed to shitty toilet humor movies. I just made a dad joke. I feel bad about myself. But Paul Rudd proved to a lot of people that he was able to do bigger things than just shitty movies. I think having Scott Lang as starting out as Ant-Man does a lot more than having Pym start out as Ant-Man. That was my big thing going into this movie, where Hank, to me, because I'm an old ass fuck, Hank Pym is always Ant-Man to me. I feel like having Hank Pym be the the linchpin of this movie, have him as, like, going forward as Ant-Man, show the stories that were there, like him being a womanizing piece of shit abuser. Yeah, a little dark for Marvel movies, but that's Hank Pym, or the Skrull representation of Hank Pym. That's Hank Pym. Then you go in and you do Age of Ultron proper, and you get the fucked up Hank Pym helping Ultron. The shit writes itself. But as what we got, it was a fun movie. Could it have been a lot better? Yes. Do I feel like there could have been a lot more going on? Yes. Did it do what it had to do to make things right? Yes. Did I walk out saying I enjoy it and then 5 years later still saying I enjoy it? Yes. Done and done. So this is where I rank Avengers 2.75. I mean, Captain America Civil War. The only thing that I have against this movie is that there is no reference at all to a Superhuman Registration Act. Now, if you know me, and a lot of you guys in chat know me well enough by now, Marvel's Civil War is my all-time favorite comic book story. Better than Dark Phoenix, better than Onslaught, better than Age of Extinction, better than Demon in a Bottle, better than The Winter Soldier. Civil War was it. Civil War was the first comic book line where I went out and I bought literally every issue of every line that had the Civil War name on it, because I wanted to know everything. It was the first story that you saw in recent history that superheroes are fighting superheroes. There's no right and wrong, because everyone is on the same, like, everyone's fighting for what they think they believe in. One of the other things that really stood out to me was there was no. Give me 1 second. I'm actually going to bring something up real quick, so just bear with me for a moment. I am going to talk myself for a minute. Come on, is this it? Is this it? Yes. Thank you. So, this right here, this is Captain America talking to Spider-Man after Spider-Man defected, I think. For the audio listening audience that's going to be listening to this down the line, here's the entire speech that he says. Doesn't matter what the press says. Doesn't matter what the politicians or the mobs say. It doesn't matter if the whole country decides that something is wrong, is something right. This nation was founded on one principle above all else: the requirement that we stand up for what we believe, no matter the odds or the consequences. When the mob and the press and the whole world tell you to move, your job is to plant yourself like a tree besides the river of truth and tell the whole world, no, you move. That is the most powerful speech I have ever read in a comic. And let me tell you, I have read quite a damn few comics in my time. That shit fucking moved me. if they put that speech or any representation thereof in this movie, and it held the emotional weight, I would have been okay with it. If they had minor story beats, like I can't even say it's a minor story beat, but if they had a story beat where Spider-Man saw the fucked up shit that Stark was willing to do to get Cap back to his side, which ultimately would have caused Peter Parker to defect to Captain America's side, I would have been okay with it. But for what it was and what we got, it was a fantastic movie. To be fair, I can give a shit less what people getting pissed off say. At the end of the day, if you read comics and you don't want politics in your comics, you're doing the wrong fucking hobby and you need to get the fuck out. Go find a new hobby. These are meant for entertainment. Stan Lee wrote these comics, wrote the Avengers, wrote X-Men, wrote Black Panther, all with social issues in mind. If you're reading comics now and you don't want to see politics, then you're doing the wrong fucking thing, homeboy. Like, seriously. Like, even today, like, yeah, a lot of people are going that Marvel is like ruining themselves because they're catering to the woke culture. Like, here's the thing. Do I feel the need to read a comic about a mutant coming out? That doesn't matter to me. Like, I understand and I fully appreciate that people are getting represented in comics. There are some marginalized groups that have not gotten representation. I'm not going to sit here and say that Marvel is ruining themselves. The only thing I'm going to say is this issue was not for me. I did not enjoy it. And I will say the reasoning. If I feel that something is being pushed, for instance, Iceman, Bobby Drake, was said to be gay. Okay. Does that have any effect on the comic books going forward? Oh no, we just wanted him to be gay. Okay, I guess. There was a marriage between two gay mutants. Does that have any involvement on the story? Not now. Okay, I mean, okay. I guess. I hope it's used to set up a story in the future. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that, this has no place in comics. LGBT people, Q people need representation. African Americans need representation. Shit. The entirety of Black culture needs representation. Muslims need representation, which, by the way, again, recommendation, Ms. Marvel. Anybody, especially people from Jersey, if you have not read Ms. Marvel yet, you're doing a huge disservice to yourself because that comic is based in Jersey City. So read it. It's a great read. Marvel Unlimited's like $8 a month, I think. So you can probably plow through all of it in a month and then just cancel it. It's worth it. So in chat, my paper chat, not gonna lie, I fell asleep in my first watch through of Civil War to my great shame. Shame. Crap. It's all water now. Shame. Don't forget the outcry, Wrath the Koi. Don't forget about the outcry about Marvel, Deadpool being R-rated. To be honest, if people got pissed off about Deadpool being R-rated, they don't know who Deadpool is. Period. Like, let's be honest. Like, if you're pissed off about Deadpool being R-rated, do you even comics, bro? Like, seriously. All right. So, what's next? Doctor Strange. As a light show, as a CG extravaganza, I would have put Doctor Strange here just on that alone. They handled the Strange origin story really well. The nod to him in was it so it was Civil War. Was it Civil War? No, Winter Soldier. Dope. Another great cast having Benedict Cumberbatch as Stephen Strange. The dude commands it. The cloak was animated fucking awesomely. What else? There's a lot of great seeds coming down the line for other Doctor Strange movies, and I hope they take it. And I hope that the Multiverse of Madness is as good as I'm hoping it is. I know that's a ring around, but I hope it is fucking awesome because there's so much good to come out of it, especially lately. Let's see. Let's see. Where do I want to put? So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was more of the same, but not as good. Yes, you got the great meme that is Yondu saying, "I'm not your dad, but I am your pappy," or however the meme went. And Michael Rooker knocked it out of the park. Like he was fantastic. His story in Guardians 2 was great, where he goes from being a reject for the Ravagers to having the biggest salute that one could have in that organization was amazing. And I hope that we do get a movie based around the Stallone-led Ravager group sometime going forward, because that was great. But the story, the story concerning the Guardians themselves, I thought was it was lacking. I'll put it like that. It was lacking. Ego was pretty cool. The fact that Star-Lord got his powers for all of about 10 minutes and then got taken away when Ego died sucked. It sucked for him. It didn't suck. It was for the movie. It was just kind of like, It was a thing. It was definitely a thing. What else? Rocket and Groot were awesome as well. The Mantis saved this movie. Like, her interaction with Drax was just fucking funny as hell. And if I were to ask for one solo movie out of that, I want a 2-hour movie of Mantis and Drax just talking to one another and him trying to avoid being flirtatious with her at all costs. I'm sorry. This might sound really bad of me, but I don't give a shit less. That was hilarious to me. Let's see. Spider-Man Homecoming. You know what? Yeah. Spider-Man Homecoming was a very good it was an amazing movie. I can't even say very good. It was an amazing movie. It was the first Spider-Man that I saw since the first one with Tobey Maguire, where I was excited to see where they go next. We need more, like, Tom Holland is the perfect mesh of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. You have Tobey Maguire, who is a fantastic Peter Parker, but a less than good Spider-Man. And then Andrew Garfield, who has the charisma of a fucking newt, as a fantastic Spider-Man, but a shit Peter Parker. Like, Tom Holland, like, nailed the shit talking Spider-Man we need. This is how you do a Spider-Man. And I want to see what Marvel and Sony together would do to give us a Venom crossover. Because I think Venom in the MCU would just be insane. And if you bring in Woody Harrelson as Carnage, like we're going to get this October, holy fuck, I'm in. I am in. I think Michael Keaton as Vulture was really good. I think that, like, there's no way that they could have brought in like a 90-year-old man like the Vulture is in the comics and the Spider-Man TV show, the Spider-Man cartoon. I think the Vulture as is was very, very fun to watch. You didn't need his ability to zap the youth out of people to make him younger. I think that it would not have worked in this MCU. In the new Spider-Man movie, if they bring it back around and they show a Vulture that does have it as like a snippet, I'm in. If they give us something in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I'm in. I want to focus more on the personal Spider-Man stories. Like, we'll get to it in Far From Home. I think the ending of Far From Home completely outclassed what we got in the first one. And we'll get back to that in a minute. So, here's another hot take for everyone, and I'm sure y'all are going to say some shit in a little bit. Ragnarok was the best Thor movie. Having Thor and Hulk bro out in the arena. Well, I can't even say bro out, but having Thor bro out at the sight of Hulk in the arena on Sakaar was fucking hilarious. The fight between Thor and Hulk, while it was not the fight that we wanted to see, because if you saw Thor versus Hulk, the animated movie from a while back, that was amazing. Like, there's a lot there to go on, and I think if Professor Hulk from Endgame ever reverts back to Savage Hulk, oh yeah. Now, there are things that I did not like about Thor Ragnarok, but it was inconsequential in the long run. Valkyrie, fucking dope. However, having Thor, or not Thor, having Hulk on Sakaar and not giving him not doing anything with the World War Hulk, World War Hulk or Planet Hulk story. He's just there because fuck you, that's why, is a missed opportunity. Giving him the ability to, like, have him grow as Hulk, I think after the current phase of Marvel movies, after we get through the big bad, because if people have not seen Loki yet, I can't really go into detail. I got spoiled, but I'm not going to do it for anyone else. The big bad was revealed for season 4 or phase 4, and it's going to be a doozy. Phase 5, they need to do some form of World War Hulk. Like, I want to see Hulk in his throne of skulls in Madison Square Garden going, this is mine now, come and take it. But that said, Taika Waititi, I don't even know if I pronounced his name right, but the voice of Korg, who is also the director of the movie, I'll do that. He crafted such a great movie. There was nothing bad about this movie at all. And like, if I can't pull out like if I can't pull out a detractor past something superficial like with Sakaar, I'm okay with putting it in God tier. As you can see, the only things that the movies that are up here are movies that are like there's no real big beef with it. Like with Doctor Strange, I think that they could have done more with Dormammu. I think while it was funny, having Dormammu as like essentially an ancillary entity was kind of whack when Dormammu is like supposed to be a top level threat in Marvel. But again, that there is it. Like with the other movies, with the movies in God tier, I don't feel that way. All right. So, yeah, that happened. I've never wanted a character to not die in a movie as much as I did not want Killmonger to die at the end of Black Panther. Let me be perfectly clear. I think having Michael B. Jordan's character die at the end of Black Panther is a huge disservice to the MCU as well as the Black Panther franchise. Even more so now that, Chadwick Boseman not exactly living anymore. I think Killmonger, as shown in Black Panther, would have been the perfect replacement for T'Challa. There was literally nothing wrong with Black Panther. Outside of Killmonger dying, there was nothing wrong with this movie, which is why it's still before Captain America. Chadwick Boseman is the perfect cast for T'Challa. Showing the intricacies of Wakandan culture was awesome. Showing the tribal warfare that kept going on was awesome. Having Killmonger come in and go, "Hey, Auntie." Like, legit. What other movie what other MCU movie had you go, "Oh, shit," as much as Killmonger walking into the throne room going, "Hey, Auntie." Fucking Killmonger was the personification of big baller status in that movie. And I hope, beyond hope, that they somehow find a way to bring him back. I really do. Let's see. So we're going to put Infinity War at amazing. I think Infinity War could have done more with a little less what's going on. If you're somebody who's not trained in watching Game of Thrones and you're sitting down trying to watch Infinity War and you see all of that shit going on, you have no clue. And that there is probably the biggest detractor of this movie. The fact that they tried saying that Infinity War and Endgame were two separate movies, when in all reality it was Infinity War Part 1 and Infinity War Part 2. The fact that Marvel tried promoting it as two separate movies was an idiot decision, and I will say that I'll take that one to my grave. Like, I think they would have been smarter just saying, "Yeah, it's a two-part movie." Sorry. I think that if they did a little bit less, it would have been a lot better. If they just focused on, I honestly think that if they spent more time focusing on Thanos during Infinity War, it would have done a lot more. Because you still would have gotten the fight between Iron Man's group on Titan with Thanos. You still would have gotten all of that. You would have gotten all of, like, the entire fight in Wakanda with Captain America, with Bucky, with Black Panther, all of that. Then in Endgame, after the Thanos snap, after, half of the entire universe is gone, then that's when you focus on what's left of the Avengers, what's left of the entire MCU. Then you loop around and give us Endgame. You give us exactly what we got. I think trying to shuffle through three to four different stories through the entirety of Infinity War was the biggest detractor in Infinity War. If you gave us one singular focus, Thanos was the focus on the entirety of phase 1, 2, and 3. Everything worked to that point. If we got that payoff in Infinity War, where we follow Thanos, we figure out how he got all 6 Infinity Stones, as opposed to he just got 2 or 3 of them, just plucking them. Like, I wanted to see him assault nowhere. I wanted to see the full-on assault. I wanted to see him plot that course to the ship that left Asgard. I think it would have done a lot more, as opposed to like 1 or 2 scenes of each, and that's it. Ultimately, we didn't get a whole lot with Thanos. If you think about it, we got probably like 20 minutes of screen time for Thanos, maybe a half an hour. But there was more time spent worrying about the ant scurrying in the ground as opposed to the giant foot that's above them. I'm sorry, but if I'm watching a movie, I want to know what the big giant foot is doing as opposed to the ant scurrying on the ground. That was the big detractor for Avengers for me, or Infinity War. Like, way back when, you knew that, like, during Avengers 1, actually during Thor, you knew that Thanos was going to come. I think he had the Power Stone from the start. Either the Power Stone or the Ether. We're going to get back, like I said, we're going to get into a lot of this in more detail in later episodes, because like this right here is a detail that I don't remember. All I know is that he had 1 or 2 stones right at the onset. And that's kind of something that I would like to know how he got those stones. Focusing on him getting the Power Stone in Infinity War, or not the Power Stone, the Soul Stone, great. Having Red Skull come back, not as Viggo Mortensen, great. There's a lot of good to come out of it. But ultimately, I think the focus was off. We could have gotten a lot more out of just following Thanos, as opposed to following the ants, the Avengers, or the ants on the ground in this analogy. So again, this is in no way indicative of where I feel, like how close to good in meh Ant-Man and the Wasp is, because there's a huge, like, you need to go up 2 or 3 steps to get from where meh is in terms of how they are and Age of Ultron. Here's why I think Ant-Man and the Wasp is just meh at best. I can't remember it. At least in Iron Man 2, I remember why I hate that fucking movie so much. I can't remember much of Ant-Man and the Wasp. In fact, I can't remember Ant-Man and the Wasp, so I'm going to throw that all the way in the back. I know it set the. I know we got a bigger view into the quantum realm, quantum something. I don't know. We got a good look into it. I'm happy with that. Paul Rudd still serviceable as Scott Lang. I enjoyed it. You got to see him. You got to see him post Prison Break on the run. Okay, good. So ultimately, I just don't remember enough of the movie to give it a good rating. I just can't remember it. That's going to be a fun episode. So next up on the hit parade, if I had a, you know what? I'm just gonna put it all. I'm just gonna put it in its own category. So I'll be honest. I don't. I liked Captain Marvel more than apparently most people. I think Captain Marvel did a lot of good to give us what we needed in Endgame, because you need some a cosmic entity that has a lot of power. As much as the Guardians of the Galaxy are a cosmic being, a cosmic group, they're from not Earth. Captain Marvel has world breaker power. While I think that Captain Marvel is better than any movie that is in the good tier, it's not as good as anything in the amazing tier. So I will put it in its own tier. I think that Captain Marvel did a lot of good. I think the hate that that Captain Marvel gets is unwarranted, especially from people who don't like was it Brie Larson? I think. Yeah. It comes from people who don't like Brie Larson. And good, bad, or otherwise, Brie Larson did a good job. The story was serviceable. Were there things that I did not like? Yes. I think that making the Skrulls a good entity is an absolute misstep. Nowhere on in the entirety of the Marvel lexicon. And I will say this because there are stories that I don't remember and or have not read where the Skrulls were not a good group of people. Secret invasion was a thing. Secret invasion is happening. Making the Skrulls, at least Talos, a good entity is a terrible, and I repeat, terrible idea. But it, for the story that it served, it was fine, which is why it's not amazing, but it's better than good. I think that Captain Marvel gets a lot of hate for no reason at all. And I think the sequel is going to be more serviceable because it's not just Captain Marvel. We're going to get a lot more of the Captain Marvels. So I'm excited for it. It's one of the few Marvel movies that I will go 100% against the grain on because a lot of people hate on Captain Marvel and I think they're fucking dumb. Next up, Endgame. just slightly better than Thor Ragnarok. Not by much, but it's definitely there. For starters, Bro Hulk, or not Bro Hulk, Bro Thor, Chunky Thor, was fucking hilarious. Or the Big Thorbowski. I'll call that the Big Thorbowski. The heist to get all of the Infinity Stones was really fun. I think it gave a good end to every story to phase that culminated in phase 3. It gives a lot of ways to start off phase 4, and eagle-eyed people would know that we got a snippet of what phase 4 was going to be during Endgame. I'm not going to spoil it, but I suggest rewatching it if you want to know what I'm talking about. I think that the Avengers was I think Endgame was the perfect closer to phase 3. It's a movie that I will put on Disney Plus and I will sit through and watch. I saw Endgame, I think, 5 times in 3 days when it came out. Just like I saw Civil War multiple times, Black Panther multiple times, Winter Soldier. I think I set a personal record seeing it 5 times in 2 days. So when I spend that much money on a movie, I mean, had to like it somewhat, right? I think that, I mean, Endgame just set so much in motion that we get a treat, and the entire framework for phase 4 is sitting right in front of our faces. Oh, dude. 2 things made me cry in Avengers. Captain America essentially becoming Thor and lifting Mjolnir. And when we finally got Captain America saying Avengers Assemble, which, by the way, I want to throw something out there. Hey, fuck you, Joss Whedon. Thank you for making us wait, because you're a piece of shit and you hate a phrase. That's the entire reason why we never heard Avengers Assemble during the first two Avengers movies, because Joss Whedon hated that phrase. Anyway, like the entirety of that final battle, from when Thanos touched down to Iron Man unsnapping the snap, tis good. Tis good. All right. Wow, we only have 5 more things to talk about. Damn. Spider-Man Far From Home. It was serviceable. It was good. I don't like plot twists for the sake of plot twists. I think having Mysterio as a hero swapping and then being a big fuck you to Tony Stark at the end is it was a reach. Like, let's be honest. If you know Spider-Man, you know Mysterio is a top-tier Spider-Man villain. Why are we wasting it? Why are we wasting Mysterio? Exactly. So you got it. I got it. We all knew that Mysterio was a Spider-Man villain. Why are we wasting it on him being a scorned Stark employee? Like, it made no damn sense. It literally made no sense. So we get this for what? For literally what? Nothing. It was a plot thread that was supposed to stick, but it didn't. Yeah, like Mysterio is supposed to be like smoke and mirrors and shit. Like, it's and at the end of it, you have, like, you take his, like, what he did to Peter at the end of the movie, right? and you you neuter the character by doing that, because that is supposed to be the big, when Peter Parker reveals himself to the world, Peter Parker is the one doing it. And I am going to be nitpicking this one to no end. One of the biggest things was he is protecting his identity at all costs to protect the people around him. The only time he revealed his identity was when he had Tony Stark at his back. And Tony Stark was able to protect the people around him, i.e. Aunt May, Mary Jane Watson. That didn't make sense to me. And to be honest, I'll be straight up, it sucked. Like, I'm watching it, we get to the end of the movie, and Mysterio outs Parker, and I'm like, really? The only good thing about it is that we get J. Jonah Jameson back. I'm pumped about that. But we get it was good, and when when a major plot point like that is just thrown out there just to throw it out there, that's where I go, nah. So 2 years after Far From Home, we get Black Widow. We're gonna put this back here for a second. It's not official. It was just a thing that Taika Waititi and Ryan Reynolds did. It was like a 4-minute thing. They haven't announced anything official yet, but if they do, I'm on board. I'm 100% on board. If Disney actually wants to go out on a limb and make Deadpool the way he's supposed to be, I'm on board. But I can't see Disney bringing out Deadpool and then making him a PG movie. However, there are ways around it, and I think it would be hilarious. I just don't know if Disney has the balls to do it yet. So, that said, we are now in a quandary. We have a well, here's the deal. I am not, for what Black Widow was. It was a serviceable movie. I didn't fall asleep like Dreaded just said. I thought the movie was good for what it was. However, and this is a big however, I'm going to say something and then I am going to have to explain myself just a little bit. I don't think I think that, yeah, it should have. Here's my whole thing though. I think that Black Widow as a movie was a big misstep. Here's why. What is the one thing that people have heard about Black Widow anytime that there's interaction with her and Hawkeye? Budapest. Correct? Correct. Thank you, me. Good job, me. So you get a Black Widow movie, and we're supposed to get, like, everyone's wanting to know Budapest. Yeah, I'm American. I say Budapest. Um, so so we get a Black Widow movie, and the one thing that everybody wants to see is Budapest. We want to see what happened and what caused a complete shit show in Budapest where Natasha and Clint almost did not get out. We did not get that. We get a story that nobody wanted to see. And when I say nobody wanted to see, because this was actually brought up to me in a conversation that I had with somebody else, because they thought I was saying that nobody wanted to see a Black Widow movie, which is wrong. I want to see a Black Widow movie. I wanted to see a Black Widow movie that actually went into context about Budapest. Instead, we get one scene where a kid goes into a building, the building blows up, and that's that. We then get, there's the safe house that me and Hawkeye were in. Here's the ventilation shaft that me and Hawkeye stayed in for 4 days trying to hide from, the Red Room. Like, instead of like telling us, show us. Because having a scene in the safe room that they had, that's telling us. Showing us the ventilation shaft, that's telling us. Showing us giving us a flashback scene, that is telling us. That is not showing us. And I understand that they need to go according to contracts and whatnot, and they might not have been able to get Jeremy Renner for a scene in that movie or to be in that movie. So while I understand the necessities of contracts, it doesn't change the fact that we are missing a gigantic piece of the puzzle. This entire movie was a commercial for the post-credit scene in this movie. I'm going to leave it at that for the people who have not seen Black Widow yet. This movie, the entirety of the movie before the credits is a commercial for the end scene, which is what's going to set up the next thing for this part of the universe. But I'm not happy with it. While I'm not going to say it's garbage, it was a, for what if it wasn't a Black Widow movie and it was a different movie that had Scarlett Johansson in the lead, I would have been okay with it. Like, what was that movie that had, what was that movie that had Jennifer Lawrence in it? And it was about being indoctrinated into an assassin, like a Red Room-esque entity. I'm just going to look it up. Oh God, not X-Men First Class, please. No, not that. Oh no. Red Sparrow. That's it. So if they essentially just said, we're going to remake Red Sparrow in our own image and use Scarlett Johansson, I would have been, okay, Disney, I see you. Let's do it. Because that's essentially what this was just a different take on the Red Sparrow-esque story. And I understand, I get it. They wanted to go into the background of Black Widow one time before, her use is used up. But it doesn't really tell us anything that we want to be told. Like, I want a Budapest story. That's what I want. I don't want the Budapest story as an ancillary story, a plot device for another movie, because that's what it was. like Black Widow for me is probably like a solid 6, maybe 6.5. Yeah, that's all I got on that. All right. So now we get to the TV shows. Marvel's first foray into television was phenomenal. I think that WandaVision as a whole told a great story. It showed every show that Marvel has put out so far has gone above and beyond to show like effects of something. For WandaVision, it was the effects of post traumatic stress disorder and how people cope with it. I'm not going to say that Wanda did a good thing by enslaving a shit ton of people, but sometimes people do bad things when they have PTSD. Like when you have PTSD, you're not really in control when something happens. When you get triggered, you get triggered. Like some people, like people who are in like Vietnam or the Korean War, and they have PTSD and they hear fireworks go off, one of two things are going to happen. One, they're going to be in the corner because they think they're getting fucking artillery shells fired at them. Or two, they're finding a gun and they're going out into the street. Or three, they're just going to be very, very, very sad. So there's three things. Or they're just not going to do anything. But the first two are a little more common than people want to think. And that's where WandaVision comes in, and they show the bad side of PTSD. And PTSD in a superhero world, bad shit like that is going to happen. I was kind of hoping for something that, like, for WandaVision to give us something else, and I'm hoping that we get that sometime in the future. But we'll get into that in more detail when we get to the TV shows later on, much later on. Next up is yes. 100%. I'm actually going to make sure my mic is right at my mouth on this one. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yes, Captain America and the White Wolf. Thank you, Dreaded. I needed to correct myself. Captain America and the White Wolf is the best storytelling that we have gotten from Marvel Studios in a very long time. They put in so much plot and story devoted to racism and the effects of race in how people view things that it made people uncomfortable. And that, I think, is what made it great. I looked at reactions for that, and I thought that they were doing it very well. I looked at reactions to John Walker as the new Coke version of Captain America, and I liked it. I'm one of few people in the world that understood that John Walker was never going to be a permanent Captain America. This is what people did not understand. They saw John Walker carrying the shield and went, "That's not my Captain America." And to which I responded, "No shit, asshole. That dude right there is going to be U.S. agent. If you did anything like remotely related to Marvel Comics, you would know who John Walker is. But no, you opt to be the dumb shit of the group. Thank you." And then we get to the big reveal that to be honest, it wasn't even that big of a reveal, because Falcon got the shield. He didn't want it, so he gave it to the U.S. government. Oh yeah, like anybody who put any bit of common sense would know that John Walker was not going to be Captain America for very long. I'm sorry. They I'm gonna do my best to not lose my shit because I do that fairly often and I don't want to do that. Let's see. So dealing with race and was the big contention for having this show. And the one thing that this show did very well, especially if you were watching, or I mean not watching, if you're reading comments on Facebook or Reddit or whatever, and you see people going ham about Falcon having the shield and becoming Captain America. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but he was Captain America in the comics too. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he may still be a Captain America. There's 1,000 different Captain Americas now because Captain America is supposed to be the American dream. So we have an indigenous Captain America, a Muslim Captain America, a black Captain America, a Hispanic Captain America. We have all of these different Captain Americas now. Do you want to know why? Because America is a goddamn melting pot. America is not just a blonde-haired, blue-eyed man who took steroids and became America's greatest soldier. I say this as Steve Rogers being my favorite comic book character, but I'm also smart enough to understand that there are more to comics than just the characters on the pages or the characters in the movies. There are other things going on in the world that also need representation, i.e., other people. I'm going to take a second. My throat's kind of hurting. My point is this. There are people from all different walks of life that read comics. And when I say comics, I mean American comics, manga, you name it. We have people that read it. We have people who start their own comics because they want to feel represented. And for a while, comics were not very good at representing people because they have crusty old men writing the comics. And when you have an influx of new talent, you get an influx of new ideas and new representation. One of the reasons why I think Marvel is doing it very well is that they're doing their best to include people. They're including LGBTQ plus people. They're including black people. They're including Muslims. They're including Japanese people. They're including Indian people, Pakistani people, you name it. They're represented. And if you think that them being represented is making it so that you're less represented, you're part of the problem. Plain and simple, you're part of the problem. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier was a fantastic show. I think having more Marvel shows that tackle shit like race is a wonderful thing, and we need more of it. Plain and simple. We need more of it. Now, let me hop off my soapbox for a little bit. And we go to what is currently going on. I'm going to put Loki low end of amazing. Here's why. The first 2 episodes of this show were very slow for me. They were very, very slow for me, and I couldn't. It's taken me a while to get on board with it, but by the time episode 3 ended, I'm finally on board, and episode 4 was the point where it's like, okay, now I'm feeling it. Now we're going. All right, let's roll with this. It was the first Marvel show that came out that it felt like there was a very like this the start was too slow for me. And this is coming from somebody who thoroughly enjoyed the beginning of WandaVision for what it was. And nobody knew what it was. And that's what the best part was. For me, I need more of that. Not slow for the sake of slow. But once we got more of what was going on, everything felt great. It was just getting to that point was the kicker, you know? Now this is going up the day after the Loki finale aired, and I have not watched it yet. Like I said earlier, I got spoiled as to what happened because of a friend of mine not being a conscientious friend. But Loki, I need to see what happened for myself. But I think that this is I think the finale, from what I saw, is going to be a banger, and it sets up. It took that little nod from Endgame that I saw. It took that, like I was talking about during Endgame, and from what I heard, it knocks it. It just knocks it. So I'm excited to see it. I've been excited since last week when I saw episode 5, and I think it's going to be a fitting end or beginning to a fitting end to the Infinity War saga or the Infinity Saga, and a good start to whatever's coming next. And that's what we need. So, that said, that brings us to the end of our the first episode of whatever the hell this is going to be. Maybe I should just name it whatever the hell this is going to be. That'd be funny. No, it wouldn't. But so here's the tier list. We have a new episode's going to be next Thursday, 8:00, just like this week. Well, I'm going live at 8. I'm hitting the record button sometime after that. I make no promises when. Again, you can catch us on YouTube. Just search up The Enemy Base. Let's see. Twitch.tv/The Enemy Base. TikTok, I'm at The Enemy Base. SoundCloud. Pretty much everywhere that you could find The Enemy Base, I'm it. So, for everyone, thank you everyone for coming in. Everyone who's live, stick around. I'm going to be doing I'm going to be playing some Magic afterwards. I need to go get a drink because I've been talking for an hour and 42 minutes nonstop, and my throat is crying. So I'm going to go get a drink. Thank you, everyone, for stopping in. Episode will be posted up tomorrow everywhere. So thank you, everyone. I will catch you all later. Peace.